All right, so let's dive into this whole thing about Toyota quality.
Okay.
Especially with the Tundra maybe not being what it used to be.
Yeah.
It's almost like a mystery, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they really slipping or is it something
All
else?
right.
We're going to try to get to the bottom of it today.
Yeah.
And to help us do that, we've got a true Toyota pro with us.
Okay.
Someone who's been working on Toyotas their whole career,
Right.
not just a former Toyota master diagnostic technician,
Uh-huh.
but they also own a shop specializing in Toyotas and Lexus vehicles.
Happy to be here.
Mhm.
I've seen these cars evolve firsthand, and I think I can shed some light on this.
Awesome. So to guide our deep dive today, we'll be looking at a video from the Car Care Nut where he talks about the good, the bad, and the ugly of what's happening with Toyota quality. So he starts off by saying that Toyota's peak was back in the 90s and early 2000s. Um, he even thinks they've been on a bit of a downward trend since then. Now, you've been working on Toyotas for a long time.
Mhm.
Is this something you hear from other mechanics? What made those older Toyotas so legendary?
Yeah, you definitely hear that sentiment, especially from mechanics who have been around for a while. Those older Toyotas were almost like tanks. Simple, durable, not a lot of electronics to go haywire.
Hmm.
They were built to last, that's for sure.
Yeah. So what happened?
Right.
The Car Care Net points to um, a dip in quality in the late 2000s and early 2010s.
Okay.
He has a couple of theories.
Yeah.
First, maybe Toyota had cut some corners, especially on interiors because of rising production costs.
Yeah.
They had to stay competitive.
Right.
And second, he thinks maybe owners got a little spoiled by those super durable older models
Yeah.
and started slacking on maintenance.
Right.
But the newer ones aren't
Eh.
quite as forgiving.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
You could skip an oil change here and there with those older Toyotas and they would just keep running. But these newer models, while still reliable, are more complex. They need a little more love.
So what are you seeing in your shop?
Sure.
What are the most common maintenance things people are overlooking with their Toyotas these days?
Honestly, it's a lot of the basic stuff.
Okay.
People delaying oil changes,
Uh-huh.
ignoring worn brake pads,
Yeah.
not changing spark plugs on time.
Oh, wow.
You'd be surprised how much damage those things can cause if you let them go.
Okay, so maybe we're not taking care of our Toyotas like we used to.
Right.
But the Car Care Nut also thinks something else is going on. He says that around 2020, Toyota started trying to change their image.
Mm.
They wanted to get away from that boring and reliable reputation
Okay.
and make cars that were more stylish and fun to drive.
Right.
He even says they're really good at listening to customer feedback, so maybe
Yeah.
that's what drove the shift.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look at the Camry and RF4 now. They're not your grandma's Toyotas anymore.
Right.
They've got bolder designs, sporty trims, and they're definitely more engaging to drive.
So you're seeing that reflected in the cars coming into your shop.
Mm-hmm.
More of that focus on style and features.
Definitely. But here's the thing.
Okay.
With all those bells and whistles comes more complexity
Yeah.
and potentially more things that can go wrong.
That's actually what the Car Care Nut calls the bad
Yeah.
of this whole evolution.
Yeah.
He says there are more gimmicks in the newer Toyotas,
Okay.
especially in the Tundra.
Right.
All that extra tech and features he thinks are making them more prone to issues.
Mm-hmm.
He even asked his viewers if they'd buy a car in 2024 with manual everything.
Wow.
No power windows, no fancy infotainment system,
Oh, geez.
just pure simplicity.
Wow.
What do you think about that? Are those bells and whistles really causing more headaches for you as a mechanic?
It's a trade-off for sure. Some of those features, like the advanced driver assistance systems, can make driving safer and easier.
Mm-hmm.
But when they break, they can be a real pain to diagnose and fix.
So give me an example.
Okay.
What's one of those gimmicky features that's actually causing problems out in the real world?
Okay, take blind spot monitoring.
Okay.
It's a great safety feature.
Right.
But the sensors can get dirty or misaligned,
Yeah.
and suddenly you've got a warning light flashing in your face for no reason.
Huh.
It can be a simple fix, but it still requires specialized tools and knowledge to diagnose it properly. It's not like the old days where you could just pop the hood and tinker with things.
So it's not just that things are breaking down more often. It's that when they do break down, it's more complicated to fix. What about cost?
Yeah,
Is that a factor too?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Those complex systems have more expensive parts,
Right.
and the labor to fix them is more specialized,
Okay.
which means it costs more.
So maybe the Car Care Nut has a point.
Yeah.
Simpler might actually be better when it comes to reliability, at least from a repair standpoint.
Right.
But what about the Tundra specifically?
Okay.
He calls out truck owners as being particularly vocal about its problems. Why do you think that is?
Well, truck owners, they tend to have very high expectations.
Okay.
They rely on their trucks for work, for hauling, for off-roading.
Hmm.
So when something goes wrong, it's a bigger deal for them.
Yeah.
It impacts their livelihood,
Right.
their hobbies, their whole lifestyle.
It's interesting. He even says they seem to have less brand loyalty than other Toyota owners.
Huh.
They're quicker to switch to a different make if they're not happy.
Okay.
Do you see that in your shop?
Yeah.
Do different types of Toyota owners have different attitudes towards their vehicles?
You know, it's funny you should mention that.
Right.
Just the other day, I had a customer come in with a second generation Tundra. It was in rough shape, neglected maintenance, a few minor issues that had turned into bigger problems because he just kept putting off the repairs.
Oh, wow.
He was actually a contractor,
Okay.
and he was frustrated because his truck was costing him money. He was already talking about trading it in for a Ford.
Oh, no.
And you know what?
Yeah.
I could see his point.
Right.
If your truck isn't reliable, it impacts your bottom line.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
So maybe there's something to this idea that truck owners have a different relationship with their vehicles. They need them to be workhorses, and when they're not afraid to move on.
Right.
So to really understand this whole Tundra situation, we need to take a look back at its history.
Okay.
The car care nut gives a good rundown of its 3 generations.
Right.
He says the first generation was known for being super reliable,
Mm-hmm.
but a little underpowered.
Yeah.
Some people even said it wasn't a real truck.
Right.
What's your take on the first gen Tundra?
The first generation, yeah, it was a bit undersized compared to the competition.
Okay.
But you know what?
Yeah.
Those trucks were simple and tough. They rarely came into the shop with major problems.
Then came the second generation. It got bigger, but it sounds like there were some initial problems.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the common issues with the second gen Tundra?
The second generation had some growing pains, for sure.
Yeah.
Early models had some issues with frame rest, and there were a few recalls for various problems.
Right.
Toyota eventually sorted things out, but it definitely left a mark on the Tundra's reputation.
Okay. So the second generation had its share of challenges, and then we come to the current model, the third generation. It's packed with technology, very capable, but it's also had some early issues.
Right.
The car care nut thinks those issues have been amplified by that vocal truck community we talked about.
Right.
What are you seeing with the third-gen Tundra in your shop?
The third-gen Tundra is a beast of a truck, no doubt.
Yeah.
But with all that technology comes complexity. Right. And we're definitely seeing some of that complexity play out in the shop.
And then there's the price. The car care nut calls out the rising cost of Toyotas as a big concern.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks it's a combination of inflation, those added gimmicks we talked about,
Yeah.
and maybe even Toyota using their reputation to charge a premium. He's worried they're pricing out their core customer base,
Right.
the people who value affordability and simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing in terms of prices, both for the vehicles themselves and for parts and repairs?
Yeah, prices have definitely gone up across the board.
Okay.
Toyotas are holding their value really well.
Yeah.
Which is good if you're selling,
Right.
but not so good if you're buying.
Right.
And parts and labor have gotten more expensive too.
The car care nut even criticizes dealerships for marking up prices, which he thinks hurts Toyota's image of honesty and value.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone trying to get a fair deal on a Toyota in this market?
Do your research.
Okay.
Know what the fair market value is for the model you want. Mm-hmm.
And don't be afraid to walk away if you feel like you're being taken advantage of.
Okay.
Shop around, compare prices, and be patient. There are still good deals out there,
Yeah.
but you might have to dig a little deeper to find them.
Solid advice. Now, despite all these concerns, the car care nut does acknowledge that Toyota is still trying to do right by their customers.
Okay.
He points to their response to the Tundra's engine issues,
Mm-hmm.
where they replaced engines even beyond just the ones that were directly affected. That seems like a pretty big commitment to quality and customer service.
Right.
What's your perspective on that?
Sure.
Is the Toyota way still alive and well?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Toyota has a reputation to uphold, and they know that.
Mm-hmm.
They've always been known for standing behind their products.
Right.
And I think they're still committed to that,
Yeah.
even if they're not perfect.
Okay.
But here's the interesting thing. The interesting thing is a lot of these issues we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
could be prevented with proper
Hmm.
maintenance?
Toyotas have always been high-maintenance vehicles,
Okay.
even the legendary ones from the 90s.
That's actually the car care nut's main point.
Yeah,
He says Toyotas have always needed regular care to last as long as they do.
right.
He just thinks people are neglecting maintenance more these days.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Toyota's marketing isn't helping.
Yeah,
They push this low maintenance image,
right.
but in reality, it's just not true.
You hit the nail on the head. Toyotas are reliable,
Yeah.
but they're not invincible.
Right.
They need regular attention to stay that way.
So what are the essential maintenance tasks that every Toyota owner should be doing? You know, the things that will keep their car running smoothly for years to come.
Okay, the absolute basics are crucial.
Okay.
Regular oil changes, keeping up with those fluid checks,
Mm-hmm.
making sure you rotate your tires, getting
Yeah.
your brakes inspected regularly.
Right.
And don't forget about the manufacturer's recommended service schedule.
Right.
That's your roadmap to keeping your Toyota in tip-top shape.
You know, it's funny. People will spend tens of thousands of dollars on a car, but then they'll balk at spending a few hundred on maintenance.
It's true, and it's so short-sighted.
Yeah,
Preventative maintenance is always cheaper than reactive repairs.
that's true.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen people end up with a huge repair bill because they ignored a small problem that could have been fixed easily if they caught it early.
So it's not just about saving money. It's about peace of mind, too.
Right.
Knowing that your car is well maintained and less likely to leave you stranded on the side of the road. But let's be realistic.
Sure.
Life gets busy, and it's easy to forget about car maintenance.
Yeah.
What's one simple thing that every Toyota owner can do to stay on top of things?
Honestly, the best thing you can do is get familiar with your owner's manual.
Yeah.
It's got all the information you need about maintenance schedules, recommended fluids, and even how to check basic things like tire pressure and oil levels. Knowledge is power when it comes to car ownership.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
And for someone who's thinking about buying a Toyota, but they're worried about all this talk of declining quality,
Right.
what would you tell them?
I'd say don't be scared off by the headlines.
Okay.
Toyotas are still great cars,
Yeah.
but it's important to be a savvy buyer.
Okay.
Do your research, choose a model with a proven engine,
Mm-hmm.
and most importantly, be prepared to invest in regular maintenance.
Right.
That's the key to long-term reliability with any car.
Yeah.
But especially a Toyota.
So it sounds like choosing a Toyota today is a bit more nuanced than it used to be.
Yeah.
You have to weigh the pros and cons of all those fancy features.
Right.
Consider your own maintenance habits.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even do a little extra research to find a model with a solid track record.
Right.
But even with all that, it seems like there's still a lot of love for Toyotas out there. People are passionate about these cars and they're willing to put in the effort to keep them running. What do you think it is about Toyotas that inspires such loyalty?
It's a combination of things, really.
Yeah.
There's the reputation for reliability, of course,
Mm.
but I think it goes deeper than that.
Right.
There's a certain feeling you get when you drive a Toyota.
Yeah.
It's a sense of confidence,
Right.
of knowing that your car is going to get you where you need to go no matter what.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people really value,
Mm.
especially in today's world where everything feels so uncertain.
That's beautifully said.
Thanks.
Like that feeling of security and dependability that we all crave.
Yeah.
And, you know, as we've been talking about the car care net's perspective, I've been thinking about something he said that really stuck with me.
Okay.
He said, the best Toyota is the one that's properly maintained.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that applies to any car, really. It's not just about the brand.
Yeah.
It's about taking ownership
Right.
and being responsible for keeping your vehicle in good condition.
Yeah.
It's a partnership, right?
Mhm.
You and your car working together to get you where you need to go.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's what's so rewarding about working on cars.
Yeah.
You're helping people maintain that partnership, that connection with their vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
You're helping them keep their cars running smoothly, safely, and reliably.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty great feeling.
So if we can step back from this deep dive for a moment
Okay.
and think about the bigger picture,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you'd want our listener to take away from all this?
Sure.
Something to really ponder as they navigate the world of Toyota ownership,
Yeah.
or even just car ownership in general.
You know, instead of getting caught up in the debate about whether Toyota quality is declining, I'd encourage our listener to ask themselves a different question.
Okay.
A question that empowers them to take control of their ownership experience.
Mm-hmm. And that question is this. Instead of worrying about whether Toyota quality is declining, ask yourself, how can I be the best Toyota owner I can be?
Oh,
How can you ensure your vehicle gets the care it needs to thrive for years to come? That mindset, that commitment to being a proactive owner, that's what's going to lead to a more fulfilling and ultimately more reliable ownership experience, regardless of the brand you choose.
I love that. It's about taking responsibility,
Right.
being informed,
Yeah.
not just relying on the reputation of a brand. You know, it's interesting. We've been talking about Toyotas this whole time,
Right.
but I think a lot of these lessons apply to any car,
Absolutely.
don't they? No matter what you drive, being a good owner means understanding your car,
Yeah.
knowing what it needs, and being willing to put in the time and effort to keep it running smoothly.
Exactly. Cars are amazing machines, but they're not magic.
They need care and attention to perform at their best. And when you take the time to understand your car and treat it right, it will reward you with years of reliable service.
It's almost like a relationship, isn't it? You have to build trust, communicate effectively, and be willing to invest in the relationship to make it last.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And just like in any relationship, there will be ups and downs.
Right.
There will be times when your car needs a little extra attention, maybe a repair or two.
Right.
But if you've built a strong foundation of trust and understanding, those bumps in the road won't feel so daunting.
So what's the one piece of advice you'd give to our listener who's been hearing all this talk about Toyota quality and maybe feeling a little unsure? What's the most important thing they could do to ensure a positive ownership experience?
I'd say don't let fear or uncertainty dictate your decisions.
Okay.
Do your research. Choose a car that fits your needs and your budget,
Mm-hmm.
and then commit to being a responsible owner.
Right.
Get to know your car, understand its quirks, and stay on top of maintenance. And most importantly, don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it.
Right.
There are plenty of resources available, from online forums to trusted mechanics like myself who are here to support you on your car ownership journey.
That's such great advice. It's about empowering yourself, being proactive, and not being afraid to seek out information and support. I think that's a great takeaway from this whole deep dive. We started out exploring this question of whether Toyota quality is declining,
Right.
but we ended up with a much broader understanding of what it means to be a responsible car owner. It's about so much more than just the brand of car you drive.
Yeah.
It's about building a relationship with your vehicle, taking care of it, and enjoying the journey together.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Enjoying the freedom and the convenience that comes with owning a car, while also being a responsible and informed steward of that amazing machine.
Well said. I think we've cracked the case on this one. Toyota quality might be evolving, but the core principles of good car ownership remain the same. So to our listener, we hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights and a renewed sense of confidence as you navigate the world of Toyota ownership, or any car ownership for that matter. Remember, you've got this.